I think that's important as Christians and as Catholics. We can't just live our lives by, going to church every Sunday and coming home and living a fancy lifestyle when there is people out there struggling, right? I think there's more that we can do, and there's more that everybody can do, whether you're Catholic, Christian, or not.
Welcome to the Catholic Table Talk podcast. This is where everything Catholic is on the table. New episodes Thursdays at 9 a.m. Eastern on most podcast platforms. Here's your host, William Sauber.
Welcome back, everyone. We are having some good, old-fashioned table talk like the podcast was meant to be. So sorry in advance if there was any glitches or small bits of bad audio, which might happen. Can't edit everything. On this show, we'll talk about the end as we look into 2026 and we look back in 2025. We'll have some good table talk about the times and meaning of the church, or any church. Who is Bryce Crawford and what does he do? The rise in church attendance, and the biggest things that happened in 2025. My guest today is Ben Tyrrell. Him and his family have been lifelong family friends, going to church with us, playing baseball with us, and more. And he is a 2025 Staples Motley graduate and a lifelong member of Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Staples, Minnesota. So without further ado, let's welcome him onto the show for the very first time, Mr. Ben Tyrrell. So Ben, thank you for coming on, and I'm looking forward to the talk today.
And I'm looking forward to it too, Billy. And I just want to thank you for having me on today. I know you've been doing this podcast for, you mentioned, close to 5 years now, and I know you've done a really good job with it. So I'm honored to be on.
Thank you for the kind words. First of all, let's get started. So in times of needing a church, and like you said, it's pretty much any church. I mean, we're both Catholic,
Right?
But there's just a need of any kind of Christian faith.
And that's the point I wanted to touch on right away, because I feel like in today's world, people just simply need church. And Catholic Table Talk podcast, this is, predominantly Catholic talk, but I think this can really relate to any Christianity. People just simply need church, whether it's the Catholic Church or not. And I feel like you can kind of sense if somebody lacks a longing for church or the faith in general. And I don't know if you've noticed it, Billy, or not, but it seems like if you've been around enough people, and you can kind of see who has that missing from their life. And I don't want to sound like I'm better than anybody else because I go to church regularly, and but I don't know, it's just something you notice, and I don't know if you've noticed that at all either.
I have. I mean, it's pretty much if anyone who's not going to church, they're pretty much not in the white lifestyle that they should be.
Right.
They're probably more prompt to going to prison, and they're more prompt of being in the news. If we could just stick with that for a little bit now. I mean, why do you think? I mean, to me, the need of church is really big to have a good, safe society. But why do you think it's so? I mean, I guess we'll talk about this a little bit later in the show too. So I don't want to jump too much here, but like, why do you think it's so big right now? Like, why is it so massive, the church, and like needing of church? Not so much, I guess not so much attendance, but just more needing of it.
I think myself, I don't pay huge attention to it, but you see it, and you see it on the news, and it's all over the world. There's stuff going on, and it's really not that complicated. And I believe it all boils down to the lack of church and the lack of faith that's going on in the world. But uh, at the same time, in a world full of bad events, such as you got the wars in Ukraine and Palestine, I feel like that gets inflated a little bit by the news. And I just, I think people need to remain optimistic because I know you brought up earlier before we got on here, the number of people going to church around the world is growing. And yeah, I think it's just one of those things that good always wins. And it's important not to so focus on the negative in the world, but with the negative, it really inflates and really brings out the need for church. So yeah.
So when you said your need for church, you actually introduced me to one guy before the show named Bryce Crawford.
Yes.
And now you said that you have TikTok. I do not have TikTok.
Right.
I'm kind of phasing out a little bit of me, even though for other folks who are watching, don't worry, I'm not leaving Facebook or YouTube or anything. I'm still staying on. Also visit our website, catholictt.com, just in case we get censored. But so just a little bit about Bryce, because again, he was new to me. He's probably new to a lot of people. What does he do? And just what can you say about the videos that he posts, and what is the interaction
So
like?
yeah, Bryce Crawford is the name, and I've been following him for a few years now. And you asked me to come on the show, and it's one thing that I thought of. And the reason why is people need to see him. It's simply incredible the work that he does. And I encourage anybody watching this episode to go check him out, because some of the works he does, he'll go around and to people that are practicing satanic rituals or anything like that, and he'll talk to them about Jesus. Because a lot of them, I don't want to say you can't blame them, but a lot of people weren't brought up the way you and I were, where, families going to church every Sunday and practicing the faith, and they didn't have any examples to look up to most of the time. So they weren't led properly. So which may have caused them to fall back into this deep sin, such as practicing these satanic rituals. And so Brace, what he does is he'll go around and he'll talk to them about Jesus. And a lot of them, you'll see it in his videos, they're not very accepting at first. But the way he talks to them and explains to them the works of Jesus is incredible. And he'll usually pray over them at the end. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you can see almost like the Holy Spirit starting to work within these people. And that's kind of, it touches back to the first point we brought up about needing more Jesus in the world. And these people who don't have Jesus are the ones you see in the news, committing these massive crimes, such as, you hate to say it, but it's a reality of church shootings and school shootings and stuff like that. It's the lack of faith. So I believe what Bryce Crawford does is really bold. And it's what Jesus wants everyone to do, is get the name of the Lord out. And I'll admit it myself, I don't know if I'm brave enough yet to go out to a random stranger and ask them what they know about Jesus. Exactly. And I think most Christians are with us. It's hard to go out to a stranger and proclaim the name of the Lord to them. But I just think by watching Bryce do that, it's almost like motivation. And one of these times it's going to happen where us Christians need to step up and be like, hey, we need to start talking about Jesus. And maybe it's not right away going up to strangers, but maybe taking baby steps and just talking with family members or something like that, and working your way up to maybe doing a little bit of what Bryce Crawford does. And so I just wanted to bring that up. And to anybody viewing this podcast, I think that's something to go watch. And he's on YouTube. I've seen his clips on TikTok, and you go to his account and he has a bunch of videos. They're a lot shorter, so that's why YouTube is probably the place to go for his videos. Yeah.
Too, for the the shootings, like you were talking about, I think a lot of it has to do with like the mental health. I know we didn't talk about that a lot,
Right.
prepping for the show, but I think it's mental health. I mean, for sure it's lack of faith, but then that leads to mental health that a lot of people can't really deal with that by themselves, really.
Right.
So,
Yep. Yeah.
which another point I was going to talk about too, that after my mind as you were talking, Ben, was that, going up to strangers and talking about Christ to them. So for anyone out there, I mean, if you know the Catholic Church, there's a lot of shortage of priests, and actually, one of the people at our church, Sacred Heart Church, actually was talking to me, Ben, the other week, and he was like, "I'm just kind of asking to see, where can the laity help out more?" And I mean, while disciples, while call you go out and preach the good news, but people might view the Catholic Church, and again, we're talking about Christianity as a whole, not just Catholicism, but whether it's the Catholic faith or Christianity, they look at it as maybe the pastor, right? As the priest, like he's leading the congregation. Everyone else kind of follows. So that's kind of the general idea of it. Where we'll actually kind of go out and share the good news like Bryce is doing.
Right.
So that's huge that you're doing that. And like you said, you can actually see the results at the end of the video.
So right, 100%. And just to add on to that a little bit, when I talked about maybe taking baby steps, maybe the baby steps isn't even conversation so much. Maybe it's doing something such as a act. What I mean by that is maybe it's giving $5 to the homeless guy, or I think about, I have a family member who, whenever he goes down to the Twin Cities, he'll go buy a few pairs of socks, and that is the number one requested clothing item by homeless people, and he'll hand out a few pairs of socks when he goes down there. And it's not necessarily going out and proclaiming the name of the Lord, but it's doing God's work. And I think that's almost just as important. And it could be as simple as, handing them a $5 bill or a pair of socks and saying, God bless you. Maybe that's enough just to maybe plant a seed. And that's another thing too. It's a little bit more simple, but it's, I think, is equally as effective. So.
Definitely. Good point. I like the start so far.
Yeah, so, we're doing good, Billy.
We're doing good and having fun. So.
Oh yeah.
So, next we'll kind of dig into church attendance on the wise. I guess, what's your take on church attendance on the wise? Me, I mean, I think it's just in times of need, people look for other things, and I mean, we look for joy and peace, and we look for other things in God, and we fall short, and it's usually not as good as we liked. So then we come back to them. But especially younger people find their way back or to church. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because people are watching the news and they're seeing what is going on in this world, and they're realizing that, hey, I need to be a part of the church because that is really what matters. Jesus is what matters. And all this garbage that's going on in the world is, you don't want to be associated with that at all. And to get away from that is the church. It's a place where you can go talk to the Lord. It's a safe place. And I think people are looking for that. And there's a lot of noise in this world. There's a lot of garbage, like I mentioned, TV, radio. There's always something going on. And you enter a church, there's a sense of calming. I don't know if you feel that. I do. Just you're surrounded by people who are there for one reason, and that's to get closer to God. And it's a real calming. It's almost like a little vacation in a way, a vacation away from what's going on in this world. You see something, you see a headline on TV. Well, you don't got to worry about the radio or TV being on in church, right? So I think, yeah, turn the phone off in church. I've been leaving mine in my car lately, just so it's completely out of there. but then I go on it right afterwards anyway. But we got to work on that a little bit. But yeah, Billy, I think people are realizing that like I said, it's church. It's the way and the truth, right? That's what Jesus says. And I think there's enough social media influence, positive social media influence, and there's podcasters out there like you and many others who are getting the word out. And people are watching perhaps Bryce Crawford's videos and other people and saying, hey, I mean, this is an eye opener, and I should start practicing my faith again. And I think that's the reason to answer your question. I hope that got most of it.
Just because I want to ask you this question before I give what's on my brain right now is that A, how much do you watch the news? And B, do you get depressed, worry about the news? How does that work out? What does that look like in your everyday life?
You know, I do watch the news. I follow news, not extremely close, but I like to stay informed and see what's going on. And you do see the negative stuff that's going on in the world, whether it's shootings or wars or whatever. But I think it's important not to be consumed by it. And I know there is people who do get consumed by either social media or watching the news or whatever it is, and that can influence their lives. And you see it sometimes where people get so caught up in that stuff, and it dictates who they are as a person. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect, right? Like I'm not gonna come on here and say that other people are like not doing the right thing, and I am, because we're all human. But I do feel like there is people that do get consumed by that stuff, and it changes them, and it changes them for the negative. And I think that's something that people need to be aware of, that you cannot let what's going around in the world or what's being said on the TV influence you as a person and how you treat others or how you go about life.
I know my sister loves Luke Bryan, and one of his songs is "Most People Are Good."
Right.
He's like, just like into your point earlier. I don't know the exact words, but the main lyric is "Most people are good."
Most people are good, and
What?
You probably don't want me to try to sing it for you or the audience right now. It probably won't be the prettiest thing.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just stay away from that. But I get what you're saying. I remember that song. It came out, gotta be 3-4 years ago now. But I like the message of that song as well. Just a good message, right? Most people are good, and I think that holds true.
So I'm gonna throw this at you, Ben.
Uh-oh.
So yes, our audience can use more flash and table talk here. So last night I did a live stream, right?
Yep.
And before the live stream, one of my friends, another David the Zealot, he's been on the show a couple times. I've been on his show a couple times. He kind of popped in before we went live, and he's like, "How's it going? This and that." And he's like, "What, And he just kind of made a statement, and it really kind of fit with like how people view good or kind and holiness, or good and holiness, or good and kindness. Is that people might think that they're good, or people might tell you that you're good, but you could be like, for me, an example, this is where I really have anxiety, because like you said, I mean, I'm out there kind of preaching the gospel, but if I'm not treating myself the way I should, with striving towards heaven, now I'm kind of being, I call it, a puppet. I get what
you're saying.
So to you, what is the difference between being good and being holy? And can you kind of sniff that out in a person?
I think you can sense that. And I think that ties back to the first point we talked about tonight on this podcast, which was you can kind of sense if somebody doesn't have Jesus in their life. And as far as being a good person, actions speak really loud. And I think that's just something that you can see, and you can tell. If you have a good conscience, you can kind of see that. And I hope that answers your question, but I think it what it comes down to is Jesus, right? Like, does this person have Jesus in their life? And not saying that all people who don't have Jesus in their life are bad, because there's a lot of good people, and I know a lot of good people that don't. But you can see it.
We're kind of talking about the year in review, just because when this comes out, it will be January 8th of 2026 already.
That's crazy.
Getting old.
Yep.
For you, it's pushing 1 year from after graduation. For me, it's 6.
Jeez, Billy.
I know.
Getting old.
Yeah. The beard doesn't help, but
no.
So just what has been kind of your biggest things of 2025 that you notice that happened in society?
As far as society goes, I just think it's a shift in Christianity, and we've talked about it with the church numbers growing. I think you see it a lot, and I'm gonna say it. I don't mean to be political or anything, but after the passing of Charlie Kirk, a lot of people mentioned that they were going to church for the first time. You saw it everywhere, and this is not it's not political. It has nothing to do with being a Republican or Democrat, but there was a huge number of people that started to go to church after his passing,
because he was a very active Christian.
Right.
He was. I know we're not talking again. We're talking about Christianity as a whole, but he was very close to becoming Catholic too.
Right.
But
after that happened, and not just his example, but there's a lot of other things like some shootings and some events, and I think that might have propelled a good number of people, young families or whatever, or even first-time churchgoers, to finally make that first step and go to church.
The biggest story, basically have like two biggest. So I got a good and I got not so good. So kind of. So we got a new pope, which of course, Pope Francis passed away.
Right.
On Easter Monday, so that's the joy of Easter. Also, the next day you wake up and he passed away, and you're like, what just happened? So and then just the process of that. After that, electing a new pope. But then we got, of course, American Pope, which is pretty solid.
Yeah.
And,
Chicago.
Yeah. And then the other one was kind of the persecution of Christians throughout the world.
Right.
So whether that's in Nigeria or China or anywhere, Africa is like a leading one as well. A couple countries over in Africa. A couple countries in Africa I had to look up to see where they were at.
Right.
And that's just, that's kind of more, I guess, more saddened by it, but it's something that, again, being caught in the news, staying informed with that, and just going from what we're talking about mostly tonight about the church attendance on the rise to times of needing the church, where those Catholic, and Christians are staying up for their faith and they're being basically martyred for it. So again, that's kind of what we're talking. Kind of mixes in a little bit.
Right.
So.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that adds a good touch to it. There's always going to be events, unfortunately, around the world that you see, and you kind of feel helpless. I don't know if you have that feeling too, but across the country, it's a little different than going up to a homeless guy and giving him a pair of socks. You can't go over to Nigeria or wherever you're talking about and stop the persecution yourself. And it's kind of it's a bad feeling, right? Like, can't do anything about it, but you can pray about it. That's about all we as Christians, as Catholics, can do. And it helps, right? I mean, power of prayer, and when there is no other option, it's a huge thing to lean back on. I think that praying to a saint is almost like a boost, right? You just it's almost like a +1. Like, let's say you're praying for someone or something, and you add in a saint to pray to. We know they're a powerful Christian figure, right? Extremely powerful. And it's something good to add in there. And we don't know. We can't explain it, right? It's not right in front of us. There's not something that says, hey, praying to this saint is exactly going to do this, or we don't know. But what we got to do is believe. And I think as Christians, that's what we do. And so I do think it helps, though.
I guess the other thing we could talk about real quick, Ben, is that kind of the homelessness in the country is a big one. Like you said, it's being that light of Christ going down or giving someone a pair of socks or $5 or whatever the case might be. And actually, I've had a lot of run-ins with homeless people at work in Sacred Heart Church.
Sure.
I had multiple homeless people come up and talk to me.
Oh, is that right?
I actually gave a guy a ride to the hotel so he could get picked up by the homeless shelter.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's an interesting experience.
It was.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
You have a few of those experiences that you've had there?
Yeah. It's
really?
It's pretty much like, so again, for anyone who does not know, I work quarterly as of January, and the time of this recording, is I work at Sacred Heart Church and School as a janitor. So basically, when I'm cleaning the church is open all day, right?
Right.
Homeless people, I mean, they use the bathroom a lot. It's a community kind of bathroom.
Sure.
But yeah, I've had like 3 people come up and talk to me about homelessness, or other people who've been in the church praying have been homeless.
Really?
Coming and asking for stuff, not just money or food or clothes, but just like, I need to get here because this bus is gonna get here. I gotta get there. And there's like a whole homeless system that they go through. But and one guy actually lives in Staples, and he just wanted to what he asked for actually. But so yeah, I've had a lot of learnings with that. And my previous guest a couple of times now, Scott Malone, is really big on homelessness, so we're gonna talk about that in the future. But I just kind of want to get your take on homelessness, because that, and I'm not going to touch on other things that we decided not to touch on, but it's kind of one of the big issues today.
Sure.
I mean, it always has been.
And I thank you for bringing that up, because I didn't know that.
Oh,
I know you worked there, but I didn't know you had those encounters. So that's really cool that you're able to share that. And I don't know where it says it. I couldn't tell you, but you hear it in church sometimes. They go, "Blessed are the meek and sorrow, for theirs is the kingdom of God." Yes.
Jack would know.
Jack would know. Jack, if you're seeing this, just let us know. But you've heard that too, I suppose. Right. And I think that's powerful. And as Christians and as Catholics who have the opportunity to grow up in a family with faith, and could be as simple as living in a house. We'll put it like that. It is our job to help those homeless people. And I don't want to get political here, but no politician is going to save the homeless crisis or anything like that. And the church basically puts it up to us more fortunate people to help those people out. And it's our job at the end of the day. Like, I think the church could do more. The church does a lot right now, but there's got to be something more, right? And I'm not qualified to really speak on this, since I'm not really involved in any of that, but even as individuals, I think us church members could do a little bit more. I know I could do a little bit more, just by helping these homeless people out. And I think that's important as Christians and as Catholics. We can't just live our lives by going to church every Sunday and coming home and living a fancy lifestyle when there is people out there struggling, right? I think there's more that we can do. And there's more that everybody can do, whether you're Catholic, Christian, or not. There's those people out there that do need help. And yeah, just wanted to say that.
Anything else you want to touch on tonight, Ben?
Really, I think we've covered a few important topics and had a good conversation about some things, some good worldly things that are going on. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way the night went.
Good. I think I am too. Hopefully, again, it sounds good. It looks good. And hopefully someone, at least one person, walks away from this show with something in mind, and
right,
the motivation to help others, whether it's homeless or get people to church.
Right. Yeah, and just a reminder to go watch Bryce Crawford, YouTube TikTok, pretty much anywhere you can find them, social media. So that's one of the things we talked about. I just want to touch on that one more time. But yeah, Billy, I had a really good time here, and I thank you for having me on.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Catholic Table Talk podcast, where everything Catholic is on the table. Don't forget to subscribe to Catholic Table Talk on your favorite podcast platform to get new episodes delivered directly to you every Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern.